Welcome to the Winter Convocation of 2026. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and so conversational this afternoon. It's great to have you all here with us today. On behalf of President Mason, I welcome you to the winter. We are in winter for sure. The 2026 Winter Convocation. My name is Jill Arnsdorf, and I currently have the pleasure of serving as the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs here at Fort Hays State University. Thank you for being here today. President Mason will not be joining us today for Convocation, as she is in Topeka testifying in front of the legislature for our university. And so we said, you go, President Mason, with your GR team, and we've got this Convocation. So we're going to continue today to celebrate our people and hear from an outstanding speaker that will be introduced in just a few minutes. So I want to say again, welcome to those of you here in the auditorium, and I also want to say a special welcome to the faculty, staff, and students that are joining us via the live link, the live stream. I understand we have faculty that are teaching in China for Fort Hays State University. We have our affiliate partner faculty and staff that have tuned in as well as some other faculty and staff that couldn't join us in person today, so we welcome all of them to this opportunity to gather and connect and celebrate this afternoon. The video that you saw while you were convening featured all of the faculty and staff who have started their positions at Fort Hays State or changed jobs at Fort Hays State University since our last Convocation in August. So if any of you are here that were featured on that video, would you stand up for a warm welcome from us at Fort Hays State University? We welcome you to our community. Next slide, please. Back one. I do want to acknowledge that something we all know, that higher education is facing very real headwinds. But I'm speaking to you today with conviction and with hope. Our commitment to high-quality, affordable education remains unwavering. Through you, our people, we continue developing engaged global citizen leaders, and that mission has never been more vital than it is right now. Yes, our landscape is shifting. It's shifting constantly. It's shifting right now as we sit here together to celebrate. Yet the ways we fulfill our mission may evolve and may not evolve. But our mission itself, our core purpose, remains constant. And that mission is powered by something no external force can diminish: the grit and the resilience of our people, of you. You are the realization of our mission and our vision at Fort Hays State University. Every class taught, every student mentored, every student assisted when they come into the office or call our online services or chat in our chat bot, every innovation you bring, it all moves us forward. Thank you. As a regional public institution, we will continue impacting learners across the globe because of what you do every single day at Fort Hays State University. My hope is in you, our president's hope is in you, and it is in the power of what we do together. So again, thank you for joining today. You can move to the next slide. We need to work on our transitions. We didn't do that before. So today's Convocation will feature our guest speaker, Phil Gwokey. He's from Bridgeworks. He's going to share with us how we might carry out our fundamental mission with our multiple generations that we have both working and learning at Fort Hays State University. We will then recognize some of our outstanding people through our awards ceremony. And at this time, I would like to introduce you to Ben Shears, our Vice President for Economic and Workforce Development, who's going to tell you a little bit more about our speaker and formally introduce him. So Ben, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's great to see you all. Thank you for braving the weather, walking across campus, getting out in the cold, being here to be a part of this today. It's a great pleasure to get the opportunity to stand before you and introduce our facilitator. So our facilitator today, Phil Gwokey, is a writer, market researcher, generational expert, and the CEO of Bridgeworks, a company that has been dedicated to bridging the generational divide in the workforce and marketplace since 1998. Through their cutting-edge research and best-selling books, Bridgeworks has helped some of the country's best companies work through the inevitable clashes that can happen between baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Z. From AARP to WWE, they've been called on by business experts and organizations in their communities to share their expertise. Phil's a Gen Xer who grew up breakdancing and fixing cassette tapes with the eraser end of a pencil. I'm sure that doesn't resonate with anybody in this crowd. Today, he's a renowned keynote speaker and a generational expert, and we're thrilled to have him with us. We had the opportunity this fall semester, there was a conference that was being held over in Salina. It was called Think. And Dr. Mason and I received an invitation to attend, so we went and we sat and we looked through the portfolio of speakers throughout the course of the day. And we were coming up on this next session that was going to be this generational speaker. And I have to admit, and Dr. Mason would tell you this, we both kind of looked over at each other right before that, and we kind of eye-rolled a little bit because we thought, how many of us have sat and listened to a generational speaker at some point in time in our careers? And we think we got a good handle on it, right? We've read the articles, we've watched the videos, we've done all the things. And when we got done listening to Phil, we both looked back at each other, and I think the ensuing comment was, we got to bring him to campus. Phenomenal speaker, really excited that he's here today. So please give Phil a warm Fort Hays State University welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. What Ben forgot to tell you was I paid each of them $100, and it got me here with you, and so I am honored to be here today. I spent not the first, but a total of 14 years of my career in higher education, in admissions, and so whenever I get the chance to come to universities, it is extra special. So I am honored to be here. Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this time with you. As we talk about uniting generations, share some ideas on how to help you, as was mentioned, just better connect, engage one another as you prepare people to be global citizens. That being said, and I've been in a lot of university campuses, a lot of industries, a lot of communities, everyone has their own little cultural things that make them unique. I want to find out what makes Fort Hays State University unique and what it takes to be successful. So I'm going to invite you to help me out. I've got this polling software that we're going to use throughout my session. And if you have your smart devices handy, you can take a picture of this QR code or go to the URL pollev.com, Phil Gwokey 051. And I'm going to invite you to create a word cloud with me. And it's real simple. The question that I want you to answer, you don't have to submit your name when it asks you to, you can be anonymous, is I'd love for you to use one word to describe the qualities students need in order to be successful at this institution. What's that thing that people need to make it here at FHSU? And if the technology is working like it was before, hopefully this will begin to craft. Yes, it's working. So if you know how word clouds work, the more prominent words or repeated words will show up in the middle. But there's also a lot of variety here. I love the fact that one of the things I was told about your culture is out here in western Kansas, we have grit, we have determination, but we're seeing some other words show up like curiosity, ethics, dedication, community, compromise I saw. The person has to be engaged. They need to have some humility, diligent. Let's see, I saw the word clothing, so no, nudity is not allowed at this university. Sometimes things show up, I never know. It's just, moxie was one I just saw. All right, now this is great because I don't think there's any wrong answers that I noticed other than that clothing one, but there is a lot of variety. And the point that I want to first start out by making as we talk about different generations coming together, what I've noticed is just human nature. As you're leading your students, as you're either teaching them in the classroom or mentoring them in student affairs or advising them as they're choosing their finances and so forth, we tend to look for qualities in other people that we personally value as indicators of their success. It's just human nature. We look for the thing that's important to us, right? And as we study different generations, what we've learned is one of the factors, one of the things that shape our values is our generational perspective. And there's a lot of variety here. No wrong answers, just a lot of different approaches to it. And so I want to unpack for you why that is and then give you some tools on how to better connect with one another. Now I'm going to show you a chart that describes the shift from one generation to the next. You've seen shifts or charts like this before, nothing new here. Depending on whom you research, you might see the years plus or minus 1 or 2. Don't want to get caught in the weeds, but I want to use this just to set a baseline of who we're describing as we talk about different generations. Now, the other thing I'd like to do is to get a sense for who is in this room. So as I quickly move through these, I'd love it if you'd be willing to identify your generation when I get to it. That being said, feel free to bump yourself up or down a generation as you see fit, and I don't want to embarrass anybody. Baby boomers, largest generation in American history, born between 46 and 64. Got some proud boomers in here. Where are my baby boomer friends? All right, we got a smattering. Just hands went up. There was some excitement, and then it just kind of died down real fast. What does that say about our baby boomers? Very influential generation, very important. My generation, Gen X, born between 65 and 80. Where are my fellow Xers? All right, yes. Let me tell you what just happened. For the first time, someone mentioned Gen X in a generational conversation, so people got excited. Brings us to the next generation, millennials, born between 81 and 96. Where are my millennial friends? Okay, yes. Let me tell you what just happened. For the first time, millennials are kind of proud to be millennials. I mean, you've taken it on the chin for a very long time. Now, let me just make it very clear. I believe in the value that each generation brings to the workplace, to communities, to education. So I'll talk about our strengths, which brings us to the newest generation, Gen Z, born between 97 and 2010. Do I have any in here? Oh, good. Oh, good. I know they make up the greater part of your population, but I'm happy to see so many here. And your hand is still up. What's your name? No, yeah, you with your hand up. Geethika. Ooh, I love this. I want to know more, but I don't have time. So Geethika, I saw someone's hand there in the middle. What's your name? I think you. Oh, you. Okay, you. Addie? Addie with an A. Geethika and Addie. Excellent. I'd love to get to know the rest of you, but I just need a reference point. Now, if you're anything like me, and maybe like Ben and Dr. Mason when they were in my session, when I was first introduced to generational theory, my reaction was, do not put me in a box. As a human being, I am far more complex than a date on a calendar. And believe me, each of you absolutely are. I'm someone who studied people my whole life. I look at humanity from a lot of different aspects. Today we're talking sociology, generational theory, but I'm also curious about psychology, our physiology. Ever since COVID, I've been curious to know just how the body works, neuroscience, just why we think the way we think. There's many things that make us who we are. So let me just make it clear, I have this hierarchy of things that I think influence us. First and foremost, the parts that were hardwired into your DNA before you set foot on planet Earth. Your physical features, your personality, things that were woven into your DNA, huge part of what makes us who we are, your abilities, your disabilities. Secondly, how your family raised you, your mother, father, grandparents, aunts, uncles, their values, the example that they gave you, huge part of what makes us who you are. You can't ignore that. One thing I've been studying recently is birth order. This is interesting to me. Do we have any oldest kids in the room here today? Yes, all right, the responsible ones of your family. Do you have any youngest children in here? I see you, the dictators of your family. Do we have any middle kids in here? Put your hands down, you don't matter, nobody cares, okay? It feels that way, doesn't it? If you're a middle kid, you had a different experience than your older or younger siblings, and it shapes the way you go through life. Culture. Where you grew up, huge part of what makes us who we are. My father's from East Africa. His story really shaped my life. So I don't want to take anything away from that. If you're going to responsibly lead your students, if you're going to be around the world teaching people, you've got to take all those aspects of our humanity into consideration. But when I talk about generational theory, please know this. If you don't remember anything else from my session, remember this. It's not about your age, okay? If we're all fortunate, we'll move through all the ages of life. That's not what makes us interesting. When we study generational theory, birth years is just the starting point. What we want to try to understand are our formative years, formative years. This is the time of adolescent brain development when our mind is like wet concrete. Okay? I remember I mentioned studying neurosciences. According to psychologists, this is the time of adolescent brain development when you're absorbing experiences in very unique ways. As you mature through life, your mind begins to solidify. But the experiences you had as a teenager shape your beliefs about right, wrong, religion, politics, truth, what type of career you want to pursue, how you want to perform the duties of that career, what tools that you need to be successful, what qualities you would look up to in a leader, what benefits an organization or an institution or a college can offer you to keep you engaged in the learning. And each generation had a different experience in their teenage years that fostered different mindsets. And again, in the pursuit of developing global citizens, we got to find ways how to connect with what matters to the people that we're working with, either the ones that are born before us or after us, knowing what matters best to them to make the best connection. Let me give you an example. Talk about communication. Depending on what generation you were born into, I could ask you all the same question, but if you were honest with me and gave me an honest answer, it would be a different response. And the question is simply this: what tools did you use to connect with your friends when you were a teenager? Each generation will tell a bit of a different story. Baby boomers will talk about devices that look like this, right? Rotodial telephones. Now, Addie, have you ever used one of these to make a phone call? Have you ever seen one? Where? The high school theater. Was it like a prop? We're doing some, old-timey play, and so, okay, all right, yeah. I mean, this is antiquated technology, old stuff. We haven't used it in a long time. But a lot of people in the room remember using these devices. Now, let me take you all back to what it was like. The good news back in the day was you didn't have to dial 10 numbers like we do today. Back then, if you dialed 10 numbers, that meant you were using an area code, which meant you were making a long-distance phone call, which meant your parents would beat you, okay? I mean, long distance was expensive. Those aren't parentheses, those are warning signs. Keep out, do not disturb. So you only have to dial 7 numbers. In rural communities, only 4 numbers. My home state and some of the smaller regions, only 2 numbers. But if those numbers had any combination of 6, 7, 8, 9, or 0, it's a long way around that dial. It was not uncommon to make a mistake. You got to hang up 11 times, start the whole process all over again. So what did that generation learn when they were connecting with their friends? They learned to put more time and effort into that relationship. Once you got the phone number dialed correct, the phone would ring and ring and ring, because there's no voicemail, no caller ID, no answer machine. So people would make appointments just to connect with their friends. They were developing ethics of professionalism in their formative years. And the thing about those phones was they were either connected to a wall or tethered to a cord, so you had to be at that phone on time or you would miss the opportunity to connect with your friends. Timeliness was woven into their experience. Here's what I've noticed. Every now and then in audiences this size, from time to time, someone's cell phone will ring in the middle of my talk. No big deal. But here's what almost always happens. Every time, it's a baby boomer's phone that's ringing. Why? Because the rest of us turned our ringer off like 9 years ago, right? Not boomers. They're not going to miss that opportunity. You got to be there. Fast forward to my generation, all of a sudden telecommunication technology got more advanced, and now we have pagers. And all my fellow Gen Xers know if you had a pager when we were growing up, you were cool. Or you were a drug dealer, let's be honest. Right? I used to have so many numbers memorized back then. It was the beginning of mobile communication. One of the other big advances for us was the answer machine. Now, this was amazing, right? We come home from work or school, look at the answer machine, see the number 2. We had 2 messages. We get all excited, right? Eagerly push the button. The first message sounds like this: hello, this is Jennifer from Blockbuster. Please call me back at 35305. And Jennifer ran out of tape. That was all the time she had, right? But the second message was like this: this is Jenny from the block. Call me back 3530537. She would talk as fast as she could. This, my friends, is how Gen Xers learned to communicate. We are short, sweet, to the point. We blow in, blow up, and blow out. When we entered the workforce, With that communication style, baby boomers said that we were unprofessional. When millennials came to the workforce and we talked to you, you're like, stop attacking me, but that's not our intention. We're just very efficient when we want to talk. We want to get things done and move on to the next parts of our days. It was woven into our preferred communication style. Millennials, you were the first group of people in history that had access to cell phones in large numbers in your teenage years, which meant for the first time, when you call your friends, you could bypass the gatekeepers of parents and call your friends directly. So you could always be your authentic self. When I was growing up, my mother drilled proper phone etiquette into me. Why? Because if the home phone rang, we didn't know if it was for me or for my parents. My mom didn't want me to embarrass the family, so she taught me how to be a little reverse telemarketer, right? I had to answer it properly. Phone rings, I pick it up, and I have to be like, Gwoke residence, this is Phil. How can I help you? Right? Step up my game. Millennials, you don't have to mess with that. You call your friends, you know they're going to pick it up, they answer the phone, you're like, hey, girl. Right? You could be yourself. Now, where the tension showed up was when people my age, when millennials came to the workforce, people my age and older misunderstood that casual conversation style. We said that they were, I can't believe the way that they're talking to the students that way. I can't believe they're talking to the professors that way. I mean, I can't believe the way they talk to their boss. It's like they're so, disrespectful. No generation ever sets out to be disrespectful. Sure, an individual might be, but a group of people aren't trying to be disrespectful. But in this case, you had a whole demographic that didn't grow up with the same informal lessons on formality like previous generations had. You see, because of that unique experience, it fostered a different approach to life. And my challenge to us is when you encounter people with different communication styles, different approaches to work, maybe because of their generational perspective, maybe because of their family upbringing, maybe because of their personality or birth order or culture or whatever the reason, don't pull away in frustration, but lean in with curiosity, wanting to find a little bit more about what experiences shape them, because I've come to believe all experience is valuable. Gen Z is here. They've had a whole new set of tools to connect with their friends as well. I'm not sure if you use Apple or Android technology, but I'm guessing you've seen these bubbles before, right? You've seen these. These have been around for a while now. First time in human history, we can have a written conversation in real time with another person. It's changed the game, right? We all use texting, but Gen Z was the first group that grew up with it in their formative years. Now, I'm blessed to have 4 kids. I love all my children. But my oldest child is my only biological child, so I have a real close connection with her. I mean, she's my heart. A few years ago when she was in college, we're having lunch together. Halfway through lunch, she gets real serious with me, and she says, Daddy, how come when you send me text messages, you're so angry? I said, what are you talking about? She goes, we have fun in person, but every time you send me a text, you're so mad. I just don't get it. So I reached in my pocket, pulled up my cell phone, pulled up the last text that she and I exchanged because I wanted some clarity around what was frustrating her. I'll share the text with you now. So it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm at the office. I knew she was about to start a part-time job, so I sent her this text, have a good day at work, baby. 10 o'clock at night, I hadn't heard back from my child, so I'm getting a little concerned. I said, I'm heading to bed. Are you okay? To which she says, yeah, sorry, I'm at Applebee's. Sleep good. I'll be home in a bit. I said, okay, love you. She looks at me and says, see how angry you are? I said, what are you talking about? I said, I love you. She said, that's not what you said, Dad. What you said was, and this is the exact quote, okay, love you. Not because I want to, but because I have to. You cost me too much money in college. You suck as a daughter. I was like, how do you get that out of this? Addie, what did I do wrong? That's what she said. She said, Dad, you ended the text in a period. I said, are you telling me I can't use punctuation? She said, no, we use punctuation all the time. If you're excited, use an exclamation point. If you have a question, use a question mark. If you use a period, that means you're furious. I had no clue, right? Now, here's the deal. We all text. But Gen Z has developed a whole set of unwritten rules for expressing emotions in this back and forth communication style that I didn't grow up with. I text the way I learned to write in middle school. My daughter is expressing so much more in her words through these subtle, unwritten rules. So again, different experiences show up in different approaches. Now, this is my kid. I love her. I have a great relationship with her. You're mentoring, you're fostering, you're developing global citizens, and all of a sudden there's these subtle things that show up that for some reason you're not getting your message across to that student, and you just don't know why. And it probably relates to some expectation that you're not familiar with, but was very important to them. And so for the balance of my time, I just want to walk through 4 generations of experiences, lean into the strengths that each bring, and then give you just a couple tools for each on how to effectively engage them, because it takes all of us to effectively do the job that we have. So with that, I'm going to encourage you to continue to participate in that polling software, because I have these little quizzes I want to ask along the way just to see how well you think you know each generation that we're addressing. So the first quiz question, real simple. I'm going to put 4 icons on the screen, and I want you to tell me which one of these individuals do you think is oldest. Is it Bobby from the Brady Bunch, pop star Madonna, G.I. Joe doll, or Mattel's Barbie doll? Which of the 4 iconic figures do you believe is the oldest? All right. The results are coming in. Yes, sorry, the QR code now got smaller. I love the fact that some of you jumped in right away and others are like, okay, I'm down, I'll do this. I also love working with educators. You guys know a thing or two. So, looks like we're kind of split between the last 2, and you would be right. Those 2 are very close in their origins. The question is, which one is right? Let's look at the right answer. Madonna would be the oldest of that 4 generation, 4 icons. So most of you are wrong, I guess, in fact. Now that's mind-blowing, because Madonna is a Gen X icon, but she herself is a baby boomer. I think this year she'll turn 68 years old, and yet that woman is still touring the world like a virgin, right? Living her best life. The reason I bring that up is so often we misunderstand what we think of this generation as slowing down. Here's a fascinating study for you, looking at the average age of people entering a nursing home. In 2024, just a little over a year ago, and again, always the beginning of a new year, some of my stats, I got to go back and look at the latest ones, but in 2024, the average age that someone entered a nursing home in America was 84 years old. In 1950, the average age that someone entered a nursing home was 65. In a relatively short amount of time, people are learning to take better care of themselves, they have access to better health care, we're eating, and so they're living a longer, better life. So we don't want to dismiss this generation of baby boomers just because of their age, but really rethink, wow, there's still a lot to offer. So what were some of the experiences that shaped baby boomers? First of all, they're the post-World War II generation. Their parents went through the Depression. Their parents went through global war. When boomers came along, society said, let's make the world a better place for our kids. So they had leaders like Kennedy that said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And a generation of people rose up and said, I want to make the world a better place. They looked around and saw that women don't have the same opportunity as men. They reinfused the women's rights movement, called it Women's Lib, fought for equal pay, changed the landscape of what leadership in universities like this looked like then from 1965 to here in 2026, right? They saw that people of color don't have the same opportunities. They started the civil rights movement, making my life as a kid growing up in the 80s better because of the sacrifices they were willing to make. Their parents were about chain of command. Baby boomers were about change of command, constantly asking, what can I do to make things better? Every now and then I'll work with some young people who have some baby boomers that they work with, and they say, I have this baby boomer, and they're just not willing to change. If that's your belief about this generation, you've completely misunderstood them. Because the truth of the matter is, boomers have changed every stage of life that they've gone through. But it's typically once they believe in something. So if you want to connect or engage a group of people who are all about change, find what matters most to them and connect with that, and they'll move mountains to bring about the change that they believe in. I had a boomer in my audience years ago, I'll never forget it. He said, Phil, I can summarize our formative years in 4 words. He said it was love, peace, sex, and war. I said, sir, you just described my first marriage. You know, it's kind of every emotion possible. Exciting time to come of age. One of the other things that shaped them was the thing that gave them their name, the baby boom. Between the years of 48 and 64 in America, a baby was born every 8 seconds in this country. There was this swelling population. Society wasn't ready for it. And so boomers experienced a lot of there wasn't enough to go around, right? They had the oil embargo of 72, 73. As they're growing up, there weren't enough books or desks in the classroom. When they started their careers, they're up against 80 million of their cohorts. There weren't enough jobs. So boomers realized real quick, if I don't do something to stand out and get the job done, there's someone next in line who might take my job from me. So when we look at some of the traits that boomers show up to work with, very idealistic, this belief that things can be better. They want to be a part of making things better. Polished in the way that they present themselves. They used to have a saying, don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want. And also highly competitive. What can I do to be the very best version of myself? Now, I'm going to show you another image here. And I'm sorry, remind me again your name? Yes. Geethika. This one's for you. I'm going to show you an image here, Geethika. I'm just curious. You should. I mean, absolutely where we're at right now. You should know what this. What are we looking at here? Files? Yes, these are files. These are files. Geethika, you are on the right track. Addie, what kind of files are we talking about here? Yes, very good. the celebration around this. This is old-timey stuff. I call this a prehistoric Google search, okay? Again, in education, you know this. Back in the day, you wanted information, you'd go to the library, right? You'd find the card catalog system. You had in your hand a pencil and a piece of paper. You'd pull these tiny drawers out that went way farther than they looked like they should. You'd thumb through the ones looking for the one you wanted. Once you found it, you'd write down Dewey's Decimal System. You'd take it to the librarian. They'd go and back find the information for you, bring it out to you. You'd thumb through the resource looking for the information you wanted. If it was there, great. If it wasn't, you started the whole process all over again. Gathering information was time-consuming, it was expensive, and it can be done in seconds now with one of these, right? So think about the juxtaposition in experiences. Robert Kelly, professor at Carnegie Mellon University, did a study. And he was asking the question, what did it take to be successful on the job from one generation to the next? He did research with the youngest baby boomers, people who are today 62 to say 65, 66 years old. When you started your career, in order to be good at what you did, you had to remember 75% of what you'd learned in your training. Again, you weren't going to go back down to the library and go through that process again. So as a generation, they honed the ability to use their brains as these massive storage capacity units. Once you learned something, you got really good at remembering it. Because if someone asked you a question, you had to be able to have that answer on the ready. In contrast, the research showed that today's young people starting their careers, to be just as successful as that previous generation, they have to remember 10% of what they learned in school, because all the information they need is right here. Now think about the difference. It doesn't mean that the newest generation isn't as smart as previous generations, but it does mean they haven't practiced using their brains in the same way. And so often we misinterpret those, the way they show up as not capable. We're all capable. Human beings all basically have the same hardwiring. We just exercise it differently. But at the same time, if you want to make a good impression with baby boomers, you want to engage them, you want to get them to buy into your philosophy, you want to show up having done the work, prepared yourself, be the best professional version of yourself, and take the time to study to learn who were their heroes, who do they look up to, and quote some of those figures to make your point. Subtle things like that you can do will make all the difference in connecting with the generation you're trying to reach. All right, as we transition to Gen X, I have another poll question here for you. I'll have to read it directly. As a result of the widespread use of leaded gasoline at the time, people born between 1966 and 1975 experienced which of the following? Is it A, a loss of 5 IQ points on average, B, an increase of infertility in a generation. C, desensitization of nerve endings. Or D, no measurable side effects. Which do you think the widespread use of leaded gasoline would have impacted people born between 1966 and 1975? Geethika, you got this one right? No? Okay. You weren't there in 75, I'm guessing. All right, we got a pretty good collection of answers. This, according to a study done by Florida State University in 2022, the correct answer is A, a loss of 5 IQ points on average. Now, this study struck me personally because I was born in 71, smack dab in the middle of this, right? Today's society, we talk a lot about people, working and living in toxic cultures. I'm telling you, if you're from my generation, we literally grew up with poison in the air. I mean, it was a challenging time of life to grow up in, right? I mean, I'm not working with as much as the rest of you just because of the environment that shaped my life. So when we look at some of the other things that shaped Gen Xers, I mean, just to kind of give this some context, now, I guess I'll leave it alone for now. Gen Xers, right? Baby boomers, when you were growing up, you were told you're going to be awesome, you're going to change the world, everything's going to be great. When Xers came along, we were the first generation that was told, you're probably not going to do as good as your parents did. Collectively, society all of a sudden changed its mission and said, let's be honest with these kids. Let's tell them how life really is. They need to know the facts of life. And there was literally a show called The Facts of Life, right? My favorite example of this comes from Disney. We're all familiar with Disney, been around for over 100 years. Institutions like that are great benchmarks of change, right? Your institution, been around for coming up on 125 years next year. Great benchmarks of change. People that have been here long can kind of watch, how has it evolved? How has it changed? Well, Disney is a media influencer. What's interesting to me is when baby boomers were growing up, that's when Disney really began to pick up speed. Because remember, the philosophy was, let's encourage these kids. So they had programming like The Wonderful World of Disney. Families would gather around the TV on Sunday nights and watch it. The Mickey Mouse Club, they wanted kids to have, every kid should be part of a club where they can feel good. Right? Millennials, when you were growing up, Disney took off. Radio Disney, TV Disney, movies about every culture from around the world. They talked about the power of women. You could vanquish evil to the tune of a song. But when I was growing up, this was the only time in Disney's 100-plus year history when they laid off animators. Why? Because across the entertainment industry, there were 50% fewer movies made for children in my teenage years compared to the baby boomers before me or the millennials after me. Because society said, let's stop painting this rose-colored image of life. These kids need to know what life is really like. Now, I'm not saying they didn't make movies about children when I was growing up, because they made tons of them. But there are movies like Children of the Corn, The Exorcist, Poltergeist, Carrie, The Omen, Rosemary's Baby. Kids were the devil in my teenage years, is what I'm trying to tell you. We either were the devil or being chased by the devil, but bad things were always going down. The divorce rate was 3 times higher than it was for our baby boomer predecessors. This new phrase came into the English language, latchkey kids, a group of kids who are used to taking care of life on our own, right? It shaped the mindset. How many remember these posters? Successories. There might be some hanging around a few walls here across the institution, right? These posters became popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. I am convinced this was society's effort to course correct all the damage they just did to Gen Xers, right? Because now, millennials, you had these in your high school classrooms, right? You got messages like teamwork makes the dream work, right? All this encouraging stuff. I tried to think back to the posters that I had in my high school classroom. This was the only one I could remember. Somehow this is supposed to encourage me, right? Just survive, brother. Just make it another day. That's kind of what you have to look forward to. So when we look at some of the traits that Xers tend to show up with, very skeptical, not easily trusting or believing others, powerfully independent. Our motto is if you want something done right, you do it yourself. And very efficient with our time, right? Because we had the list of chores that we had to get done before the single parent, mom or dad, came home because we were responsible for making that thing go. And efficiency is key. Coupled with generational theory is this thing called life stage. And like I said, hopefully we'll all move through all the stages of life. But Gen Xers are not only efficient, but we're in a stage of life where we're kind of the sandwich generation. 75% of Xers have kids, and nearly half have both kids and a parent over 65 that we're taking care of. So we've got these responsibilities on either end. So time is of the essence. Anything you can do to help us maximize our time is really key. I found this example of an organization that does this really well. I'm pretty sure you might be familiar with Kayak. They're a travel agency. Like any company, you can go to their careers page, click on the benefits of working at this company, and we did that. And I'm going to show you the benefits at Kayak, but I want to draw your attention to the fourth benefit down because I'm pretty sure this was put in there for their Gen Xer staff. It says here, we are not going to waste your time. Right? That's the company I want to work for. So how do you engage Gen Xers who are skeptical and sometimes challenging to work with? First of all, one of the things that Xers hate if you just bring us problems. Right? If you just tell us, I don't know how to fix this. Bring solutions. Say, hey, I'm struggling with this and I'm stuck between A and B. Can you help me figure this out? Now you've kind of helped maximize the time. And also, candy coating the conversation as opposed to just getting to the point is another thing that can wear down Xers as a part of your engagement strategy. You want to say, hey, this is what's going on, let's do it so we can move on to the other parts of our day. One of the most powerful ad campaigns for my generation was this one. Nike's Just Do It. Came out in 1988. It resonated with us. Why? We knew no one was going to be there to do things for us. We had to figure it out on our own. Then the millennials came along. Turned a perfectly good ad campaign from Just Do It to something like, why should we do it? There's got to be a better way to do things around here. And can we get some flexibility as to when we get things done, right? Different mindset, different philosophy. When misunderstood, interpreted as bad. But the truth of the matter is, one of the reasons millennials were constantly asking, how can we do things better, is they grew up in a time of continual upgrade in their technology. And this is particularly true of millennials. We surveyed Gen Z, what was your first cell phone? They're going to describe a smartphone or something very close to it. Millennials, when you were growing up, your first cell phone was a Nokia brick. Right? Then you got a flip, then a Razor, then a chocolate, then a BlackBerry, then an Apple. Very delicious sounding phones. Each exponentially more powerful. You needed a new phone because the old phone, every 2 years, would become obsolete. And so you grew up in an upgrade mindset, constantly asking, how can I be a better version of myself? Much like I needed to upgrade my phone, I need to continue to upgrade my life. See, we just got to look at the experiences that shaped the mindset, and we can engage in the benefit. Here's another experience that was unique at the time to millennials' formative years, social media. Brand new phenomena. I'm not going to argue whether it's good or bad, but when millennials were growing up, there's a way to connect with people. How many remember this phenomena? Ice Bucket Challenge. Quick history lesson. In the summer of 2014, any one of you who might have engaged in this were a part of raising $130 million in 3 months' time to fight ALS. Now, I think we could all agree that's a good cause, but the cause is not what made this so successful. It was an opportunity to connect with others. It was fun. It was a chance to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and it was an experience that you could, kind of share. Those 4 qualities are hallmarks of some of the things that matter to your millennial teammates. Is it an experience? Am I going to have a good time? Am I a part of something bigger than myself? And do I have a say in it? Do I have a voice in the process? Experience is key. 78% of millennials would rather spend their money, and I would say time, on an experience than a thing. As a first kind of pre-quiz here, how well you know millennials, I'm going to show you a commercial. I'm only going to show you half of the commercial. As you watch the first part of this commercial, I want you to be asking yourself, what product are they advertising? I'm going to pause the commercial halfway through, and then I want to hear what your, keep an eye on your visual clues here and see what is it they're trying to sell in this commercial. Let's check it out.
getting ready for?
All right, what's the product? Yes. Deodorant. Why deodorant? Are you in the marketing department? No, you're just like really good about those context clues. All right, so one guess, deodorant because of the degree. Any other guesses? You're all going with her answer? What is this, a school? The smart kid gave their answer, like, that's got to be right. I don't know. I have no opinion. We'll default to her. What's that? Insurance, yes, because his brother's going to die. Credit card, a very expensive trip. A travel site, makes sense. Exotic destinations. A life coach. Clearly you're missing something. You want to be elsewhere right now. I need to rethink my life. I should get a life coach. Great answers. Every one of these makes sense based on what you're seeing. Let's look at the rest of the commercial.
Whatever you're getting ready for, come into Supercuts. We pay attention to every detail and then finish with our signature hot towel so you feel clean, sharp, and not just ready, but super ready. Check in online today.
That doesn't make any sense, does it? Completely blows the stigma. See, we always think, I got to talk about the thing in order to get someone engaged. Where the advertiser for this, you could tell the audience that they're trying to market to, realize that, wow, if we just talk about the life that you can see yourself in, it's going to be far more engaging and attractive. Millennials tend to be collaborative. They want to work with others. Innovative, looking for ways to improve the situation, and experience-driven. All right, I got another quiz question here for you. What percentage of millennials recently read a printed book, printed physical book? Hint, 66% of baby boomers have recently done so. So is the answer 52%, 62%, 72%, or 82%? What do you think? All right, half of you are in the 52%, and then we got kind of a split along the rest of the way. This, according to expert editor, a study done in August 23, the correct answer would be 72%. Now, there's this myth, this theory that millennials are this digital generation that just want to look at the tools. Apparently, for whatever reason, right now, they're the most likely generation to go to a bookstore or a library and have a physical book, something about the experience, the tactile nature of it, the ability to share it with someone else, highlight in it. It is meaningful. So again, we got to rethink our assumptions about each other and find out what really matters to connect. I want to introduce you to this woman. Her name is Kristen Christian. She is a millennial. That's one of the meanest things parents do to their kids, in my opinion. Not make them a millennial, but give them these double names. And I paused later because you know how there was the whole Karen phenomena that went on with, you know, a lot of those Karens were Gen Xers. There's a new phenomena, the Jessica phenomena. Are you familiar with this thing going around? It's like the description of millennials now who have this kind of thing. Well, meet Kristen. Okay. So in 2012, Kristen was 23 years old. She owned an art gallery in Southern California, an entrepreneur businesswoman. One day, she gets a letter in the mail from her bank saying they're going to charge her an additional $5 a month for her credit card servicing fees. Kristen was outraged. This is ridiculous. Big banks coming after small business owners. I got to find another option. So she goes online. She finds out there are these things called credit unions. Oh, my goodness. Credit unions are made up of people from my community. They're not for profit. They care about the community. So on October 15th of 2012, Kristen decides she's going to switch from a bank to a credit union. However, she doesn't just do that on that day. The same day, she also starts this Facebook page called Make Your Money Matter at a credit union. And she wants to see how many people she can get to switch from a bank to a credit union by November 5th of that same year, roughly 2 weeks later. Now, if this were people my age or older, we'd put a committee together, we'd have a 5-year plan, one day we'd move the needle, right? Kristen says, let's change the world in 2 weeks. So she sends this out to 500 of her friends on Facebook. They get the message, they like it, they send it to their friends. who send it to their friends. It's been documented that just under 700,000 people switched from a bank to a credit union in 2 weeks because a 23-year-old woman was angry at a $5 fee. Now that's influence. That's experience. That's a power. If you're looking at trying to get the message of FHSU out, like what do we do? We go back to our traditional channels, or do we think, where does the leverage lie? It also represents a problem. Are you telling me, Phil, every time we give a millennial a message they don't want to hear or they don't like, they're going to leave? Possibly, unless you know how to speak their language. Early on, millennials were described as Gen Y, partly because it followed X in the alphabet, also because millennials tend to be very curious. They were always asking questions, well, why? Why should we do this? So let's leverage that to speak their language. Simon Sinek has a great TED Talk called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. And in this TED Talk, he introduces us to this thing that he calls the golden circle. He says what most people do when they want someone to do something is they say, this is what I need you to do. He said if you're more sophisticated, you might go so far as to say, this is how we should do it or how it's going to make a difference. He said if you want to be truly effective, start with the why and work your way backwards. This does not come naturally. Human nature is to tell people what you want. If you're a parent, clean up your room, right? You start with what? It takes practice to begin to infuse why into your vocabulary, but it is a powerful tool speaking to a generation known as Gen Y. So let's come back to our friend Kristen and use her as an example of what the bank could have been done differently to engage her. See, because one day she gets a letter in the mail saying they're going to charge an additional $5 a month for credit card service and fees. If they're more sophisticated, they might have gone on to say, hey, here's some ways that we plan to use the money that we're raising to make a difference in your community. But if they truly want to be effective, the first message that Kristen should have ever received or heard from her bank is that, hey, we are here to accelerate sustainable economic strength for everyone. And she gets that message over and over. And by the way, here's a QR code. If you click it, you can find 10 ways that we're making a difference in your community. And we'd love to hear some of your ideas of what we can do to sustain the economy. And by the way, we can do all of that for just $5 a month. Same message, different order in which you say it. Powerfully effective. So, engage millennials with a compelling why. Start with your why, not your what. As you're introducing change, or maybe you're saying why we have to stick to the way things are. Don't talk about the what, talk about the why. But also be willing to embrace innovative solutions because now you're speaking their language. As we move to Gen Z in my final 10-ish minutes, I want to first address something that I think shows up, and this is mostly for my millennial friends in here, because one of the mistakes that generations tend to make is they think, well, finally, I'm going to give the next generation what was never given to me. But the next generation probably wants something different than what you wanted. So a few highlighted things that were different about millennials and Gen Z. First of all, millennials, for the most part, their parents are baby boomers. As I mentioned earlier, we're a product of our family, and so that baby boomer optimism was infused in millennials. For the most part, Gen Z, their parents are Gen Xers, and so some of that skepticism passed along into Gen Z's childhood. Millennials grew up with books like Harry Potter, where they were encouraged to find people that think like them. You get sorted into a house, and together you want to make the world a better place. Gen Z also wants to make the world a better place. They just know they might have to knock some people off in the process. A little bit more cutthroat, you might get canceled. Millennials grew up in a happy-go-lucky time. They had celebrities like Britney, where advertisers would use this imagery to promote their products. Gen Z also grew up with Britney, just a different version of her. As a result, they tend to be more empathetic toward mental health and taking care of the whole person. As I mentioned before, millennials grew up with social media, but here was the distinct difference that you need to understand. The social media that millennials had, it was a way to connect with others, and you had to choose, right? MySpace, here are my top 8 friends. You were in charge of what you were seeing and what you're engaging with. And but the shift took place in 2010 when social media outlets realized, wow, this is a great way. If we can keep people addicted to this, we can sell our products. And so the algorithm began to make you think that you were choosing something when really they were just honing into what you liked. And so we live in these echo chambers like never before today. And so the experiences is fostering a society of polarization that, if you want, we could talk more about at a later time. Now, for each generation I've talked about so far, I've said, hey, this is the experiences they had, here's the outcome. We're going to get there with Gen Z, but I want to highlight something that's really important to know as you're working and serving Gen Z students. The experiences we're going to start with that they didn't have. Because one of the other big mistakes as we work with different generations, we assume that people know what we know. But if they weren't there, they don't know that. So we have to pause and recognize, hey, they might not know some of these things. Gen Z will never know what it's like to wait for the top 5 at 5, with their finger on pause, play, and record, waiting for the DJ to shut up so they can make the perfect mixtape. That's not a part of their experience. You want a mixtape, it's just a push of a button. On demand, you can create whatever you want, whenever you want it. Gen Z doesn't know T9 texting, the pressures of choosing your top 8 on MySpace, appointment television, having to wait for Thursday night at 7 o'clock for your favorite show. You can binge your favorite show all weekend long. I love this picture in the lower left-hand corner of this kid jumping over, his friends. If that picture was taken in 2026, everyone in that community would be thrown in jail instantly, right? I mean, that's not allowed. Yet that was my childhood. Danger and risk was not a part of the experience. The little girl in the lower right-hand corner talking on the telephone. Gen Z doesn't know what it's like to talk about the intimate details of their life with their friends on the kitchen phone while their family listens. And then you hire them or bring them into, your student work program, and you say, hey, I'm going to step out for lunch. Can you watch the phones for me? Can you answer the phones if anyone calls? And you've just put that person in a high-pressure situation because they didn't spend most of their life talking on the phones. Why would you just start now without any practice or training? Just got to pause and go, okay, what don't they know? See that picture of the map? My man knows how to use a map. I just found this out. My wife's a teacher. She brought this one home a year and a half or so ago. If you Google map of the United States right now, you're going to see an image that looks something like this, right? I just learned right now in America, there are a large number of high school students in AP geography who believe Alaska is an island off the coast of Hawaii. I heard this and I panicked. I got 4 kids. I started with my oldest. I said, hey, you do know Alaska is nowhere near Hawaii, right? She said, Dad, of course. What are you talking about? I went to my next son, 24. He knew. I went to my next son, who's now 21. He knew. I went to my youngest daughter, who was 16 at the time. I said, you know Alaska is nowhere near Hawaii. She looked back at me and said these words, well, where is it then? I felt like a failure as a dad, right? How do you not know where Alaska is? And then I realized she was in 6th grade when the pandemic happened. She was pulled out of school for the next year and a half, did distance learning, where I watched not much learning happening. At a time when some of the most fundamental lessons are being reinforced, she missed it. Why would she know? It's going to be so tempting to laugh and react when someone shows up how you don't expect them to. Trust me, I do it all the time. But then lean in with curiosity and find out why. Here's another one. Average age, kids were allowed to go places without their parents by generation. No big surprise here. But think about that. Now I know might be different in Hayes, smaller communities, but I find this fascinating. Baby boomers were in 1st grade when their parents would send them down to the corner store to grab a gallon of milk and 2 packs of cigarettes. And those stores would sell that contraband, right? Part of those formative experiences, all contributing to shaping each generation differently. So Gen Z certainly grew up in a different time. All of us have gone through transition over the last 5 years. I have a feeling we're about to go through another set of transitions over the next 5 years. Here's the difference. Gen Z has been in their formative years since 2020. I got to go to my high school graduation. I got to go to my senior prom. My 24-year-old son, who's class of 20, we had to watch his high school graduation on TV in our living room. And his mom made him wear his cap and gown. He hated every minute of it. Whole different set of experiences. And you have been on the front lines of trying to educate as best you can. My 21-year-old son, his name is Ben, he's a good kid. A few years ago, when he was probably 15, I remember he was in our living room watching TV, and this particular day, I was hanging a picture on the wall in our house. The wall was, I remember it was 75 inches wide, and I want to hang the picture in the middle. I got my tape measure, I got my level, I'm doing all the things, and Ben's there watching TV, and I thought, what a great opportunity to quiz Ben on his math skills. My dad was always asking me these quick mental math questions. That's how he came to this country. He's a math genius. So I thought, I'm just going to slide a math question in. Not going to make a big deal. So I say, hey, Ben, what's 75 divided by 2? Ben says, hey, Alexa, what's 75? And I was like, no, you're cheating. And I was like, wait a minute. Ben's not cheating. If he wants to get me the right answer as quickly as possible, why wouldn't he use this tool that I could have only dreamed of at his age? But so often, we begin to put labels on people versus leaning in to understand them. Last poll question here for you. According to a survey of over 12,000 Gen Z people, global survey I might add, you're a global university, you educate around the world. The things that are shaping Gen Z right now are affecting them worldwide, and that's, again, another conversation. 75% would prefer their on-the-job training through which of the following methods? Is it A, gamification, B, self-discovery, C, short videos, or D, peers on the job? What do you think? 3/4 of Gen Z said, that's how I want to get good at what I do. I will tell you the study comes out of this research. Dell Technologies did it, global study. And one of the most startling things they learned as they were surveying members of Gen Z is that they are yearning for more human connection. 75% said that they expect to learn from peers on the job, not online programs. Imagine growing up at a time in history when you're required by law to distance yourself from society for all the right reasons. It's going to have an adverse effect on an organism that needs connection with others. They want someone to show them how to be good, how to be successful. Here's something I want you to remember, because you might say, no, Phil, I work with these folks, and every time I try to connect with them, they don't want to connect. They haven't practiced connecting with people as much as you have, but they're seeking it out. So you got to push through the layers of lack of experience to find the person in there saying, I need a mentor. Over half prefer going into an office, 58% want to work on teams versus independently. When I saw this research, it impacted the way I raise my kids. Ben is our middle son. And as a result, he just looks at the world a little different. He's the most challenging to connect with. If he came home from school and had a bad day, I used to say, hey man, why don't you go downstairs, play your video games, dinner will be ready by 6, and he would happily go play his video games because he likes his video games. I read this research and I thought, well, maybe I should try something different. Maybe he really does want to connect, he just doesn't want to show it to me. So I remember one day he came home, I could tell something was a little bit off, so I just threw a gamble. Again, I'm Ben's stepdad, I've only been in his life for about 13 years, so it's always a little bit of risk for me, but I just walked over to him, gave him a big hug, said, I don't know what's going on, but it's going to be okay. Instantly, something shifted between Ben and I. All of a sudden, he wants to hang out with me upstairs. He starts unpacking his day, telling me what was going on. He asked me about my day. Words I had never heard come out of his mouth. He's wanting to talk, he's wanting to connect. The whole time I'm thinking to myself, just go downstairs and play your video games, man. It's gotten way out of control, right? I'm asking you to dig down deeper beyond what you see on the outside to the experiences that matter. Gen Z in our research tend to be risk averse. They don't want to put themselves in a place where they could fail or cause others to fail. They have a strong sense of right and wrong. but they're powerfully coachable. They want someone to come alongside them. They grew up with tools like this, rubrics, but like I said, they haven't practiced connecting with others in the same way. Here's a study looking at teens with part-time jobs by generation in their teenage years. 42%, they're going to graduate from this institution without ever having had a part-time job. Their whole life, their job has been going to school, which means every year they get promoted, which means this study all of a sudden makes sense. 76% of Gen Z expect to be promoted at work within 12 months. Now that's ridiculous, right? That's unsustainable. So what do? You put systems in place that demonstrate, hey, we're going to grow you on a consistent basis. Welcome to our university. The first 6 months, we just want to teach you how to do your job. The next 6 months, we're going to teach how what you do affects every other part of the college. The next 6 months, we want to give you leadership skills and begin to teach you what it takes to be successful here. The next 6 months, we're going to give you a chance to shadow a leader so you can learn from the best. The next 6 months, we're going to put you in charge of a project. Are you learning the skills that it takes to be successful? After that, we want you to onboard someone else because the best way to learn something is to teach it to someone. Then we're going to put you in charge of an innovation task force. AI is changing the game, changing education. We need a fresh set of eyes to help us get there. And then you're probably ready to level up in the organization. Show that you got a plan. 71% of Gen Z are more likely to stay with companies offering defined career paths. Do you have a plan? How do you engage Gen Z? Reduce the risk of failure through tools that are familiar. Build trust through detailed roadmaps of success, and assure them of your belief in their ability to succeed. And I'll emphasize that one again. So many of the Gen Z folks that I've worked with just want to know that you believe they can make it. Because most of the things that they've observed in life have taught them, I'm not sure if any of us are going to make it. But when you come alongside and say, I think you've got what it takes, it begins to reassure and help them overcome that imposter syndrome that so many struggle with. So with that, I'd love to get to your questions, but we don't have time. But I will put up one more QR code. If you do have additional questions for us or our organization, we want to be there for you. I want to wrap up just with this story, and I'll be done in a minute and a half, so thank you for your grace. That's the same QR code that I just had a moment ago. This is a place where if you have additional questions based on the content that I've shared, something else you'd like to learn, I want to feed that back to you. Our organization, especially in 2026, with the way that things are going in society, we're developing new solutions to address a lot of challenges on Earth right now. So just want to put that out there, but I'm going to wrap up with this story. I don't think I shared this one with you, Ben, so this will be new. I'm going to introduce you to this woman. Her name is Chelsea Lane. April 9th, 2019, I spent 2 hours on the phone with Chelsea. And Chelsea is a trainer in the National Basketball Association. So a coach comes up with a game plan on the court. The trainer is responsible for developing the mental and physical conditionings of the players off the court. And she's one of the best in the NBA. I'll show you some of the athletes she's worked with over the course of her career. On the left, Steph Curry, first-round draft pick when he came in, 7th overall in the league. On the right, Trae Young, first-round draft pick, 5th overall. Steph Curry said that Chelsea was the whole package. He said she had an ability to get into his head and raise his game to another level. He continues to excel in the league. They won several championships at Golden State, and Atlanta, the previous year, had just recruited some young athletes, and they were struggling. And so they heard about Chelsea. They reached out to her. They said, will you come and work with our players? They showed her the paycheck. She said yes. She moved from California to Atlanta to work with those players. And after a year of working with these players, in her words, not mine, she said, Phil, nothing I'm doing is working. I'm failing. They were the second worst team in the league. Now, one thing I want to point out, Steph Curry is a millennial. He was born in 1988. Trae Young is Gen Z. He was born in 1998. Chelsea thought maybe it's a generational thing. So she called our company and wanted to talk, get some advice. I said, Chelsea, I don't know anything about being a trainer in the NBA, but I know some things about generations, so let's just tell me what's going on. So I'll summarize that conversation quickly. She said, first of all, I went to Steph. I said, do you want to be the best? He said yes, and he followed my advice. He became one of the best. So I went to Trey. I said, do you want to be the best? He said yes. He doesn't listen to a word I say. He said, we'll be in the practice, and when it's not my younger players' time to run a drill, they're sitting courtside on their phones, not paying any attention to anything. She said, I remember one time we were in the practice room, the coach came in, said some things to the team, and the coach left, and I looked at my young player's face. I said, did you hear what coach just said? She said, they looked back at me and said, coach was here? Like completely oblivious to what was going on. I said, well, here's what I would advise. First of all, Gen Z is risk averse. Athletes of that caliber, if you ask if they want to be the best, of course they're going to say yes. But you're asking him to stick his neck out. It might get cut off. Why don't you do this? Go back and say, do you want to be a part of the best team? Because there's safety in numbers. Secondly, if you just expect them to know what you want in practice without having a plan, a map, a roadmap of success, you're both going to be frustrated. Why don't you do this? Go back and say, hey, when it's not your time to run a drill, pay attention to your players, your fellow players, because when they're done, you're going to give them some of your advice. I need you to give them some of your advice, because when you're running a drill, they're going to be watching you. They're going to give you their advice, because that's the way we rise as a great team. I said, who do you surround these young men with to encourage them? She said, it's funny you say that. That year, Vince Carter was finishing his career out with the Atlanta Hawks, one of the oldest players in the league. She said, all my young players want to bypass the slightly older players and spend all their time with Vince. I said, it's because he doesn't have anything to prove. He just cares about them as young men. He's not in competition with them. He's passing along what he has to share. I said, surround them with as many people like that as you can find. That next year, they went from the second worst team in the league to clinching their division championship. They fell one game short of going to the NBA Finals. Here's a picture of Chelsea picking Trey up off the floor after he injured his ankle. Here's a picture of Chelsea getting her division championship ring. Now, Chelsea is a phenomenal trainer. Those athletes are incredibly gifted. The coaches did a pretty good job, but let's be honest, I like to think of myself as responsible for the success of the Atlanta Hawks. Now, obviously, that's a ridiculous statement, but here's what I want you to take away from this session. What so impressed me about Chelsea, what really distinguishes her, 2-hour conversation, and I have conversations like this pretty regularly, but something unique about Chelsea, never once did she say to me, Phil, there's something wrong with my players, fix them, because I had that conversation a lot. In fact, what she said to me was, Phil, there's something wrong with the way I am training my players. Fix me. And that, my friends, is the way to create global citizens. It starts with you changing and reaching out to them. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I do appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Phil, for being here with us today, for the inspiring words, and to encourage us to look in the mirror and fix ourselves. It is my pleasure now to present the recipients of multiple awards today, and we have a lot of awards to give away, so I'll work through these as quickly as possible, but want to recognize each of our faculty and staff award winners appropriately this afternoon. We're going to begin with the Staff Distinguished Service Awards, and joining me on stage today to help with the award presentations is our Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Joey Lin. Joey, will you please join me on stage? Thank you. So each year, the university recognizes 2 university staff employees for their continued excellent service to the university. These awards are based on 3 general areas: longevity of a minimum of 5 years, breadth of high-quality contributions, and significance of their dedication and commitment to the university. Each award recipient will receive $500. As I read off who the recipients are, would you please come on stage if you're here today to receive your award? It is my pleasure to announce this year's first Distinguished Service Award recipient, That person is Ms. Annie Baskell, Senior Administrative Assistant in the Department of Chemistry. Is Annie here? She's ill today. Oh, shoot. Well, let's talk about Annie and celebrate her before moving on to the next awardee. Annie has more than 25 years of dedicated service, exemplifying professionalism, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to students, colleagues, and the institution. She is a trusted representative and an indispensable source of institutional knowledge, mentorship, and stability, consistently strengthening her department through exceptional customer service and a calm, approachable presence. Most notably, her genuine care for others fosters a culture of compassion and connection that has made a lasting impact on the university community. So we say congratulations to you, Annie, and we hope you get well soon. It is also my pleasure to announce that this year's recipient of the other Distinguished Service Award is Mr. Ron Hegg, Director of Campus Recreation and Intramurals in the Department of Health and Human Performance. Ron, are you here today? Okay, Ron is not here either, but let me tell you a little bit about Ron's service to the university. Ron's service to campus intramurals reflects a lifelong commitment to student development, mentorship, and community engagement. Through innovative programming and hands-on servant leadership, he has positively impacted thousands of students while extending his influence to schools, youth organizations, and athletic programs across central and western Kansas. His dedication to training, officiating, and professional service has strengthened Fort Hays State University and the region, making his contributions both far-reaching and enduring. Congratulations to you, Ron. Now I would like to recognize the Les and Elizabeth Griffin Family Outstanding Service Award recipients. These awards recognize the exceptional and dedicated staff who support the daily operations at Fort Hays State University. Employees nominated for this award exhibit a strong commitment to excellence and display pride and dedication to their work. Each staff winner receives $500, and each student winner receives $250. I would also like to take this time to thank Dr. Ken Griffin for his very generous support of these awards and ask that he now join us on stage in assisting with these presentations. Dr. Griffin, please come forward. Thank you. And again, if our recipients are here with us today, I'd ask that you please come forward when your name is read to receive your award. The first is the recipient of the Griffin Family Outstanding Service Award for Facility Operations Staff, and that goes to Ms. Susan Relaford, Academic Custodian. Doesn't look like Susan's making her way up, but I'll tell you a little bit about her work at Fort Hays State University. Susan is dedicated to creating a welcoming environment for students, faculty, and staff. She consistently ensures that Rarick Hall is immaculate, well-maintained, and operating at the highest standard. In addition to her exemplary work, she is currently enrolled in classes and actively participates in staff activities, demonstrating her commitment to both professional growth and shared governance. Her pride in the facility ensures that everyone who enters the building experiences its beauty, efficiency, and care. Congratulations to you, Susan. The recipient for the Griffin Family Outstanding Food Service Staff Award is Ms. Kate Shippers, Event Coordinator with the Union Catering Company. Kate, are you here? There she is. Please come forward. Kate is an exceptional professional who consistently demonstrates dedication, creativity, and a genuine passion for her work. As an event coordinator, she goes above and beyond to ensure each event is executed with precision, thoughtful detail, and a welcoming experience for all involved. Her strong organizational skills, positive energy, and approachable nature make her an invaluable asset to both clients and colleagues. Kate takes great pride in representing the Union Catering Company and her contributions have made a lasting and meaningful impact on the university. Congratulations. Our final Staff Service Award to be presented today is the recipient for the Griffin Family Outstanding Food Service Student Award. And this award goes to Ms. Sierra Gao, barista at Starbucks in the Memorial Union. If she was working this morning, I'm sure many of us saw her. Sierra consistently demonstrates professionalism, dependability, and a friendly, customer-focused approach that creates a welcoming environment for both customers and coworkers as a barista employed by Starbucks. Her strong knowledge of their products, willingness to assist wherever needed, and positive attitude make her a valued member of the team. Sierra takes pride in her work and represents both Starbucks and the Union Catering Company with excellence. Congratulations. And again, thank you to Dr. Ken Griffin and his family for your extraordinary contribution to recognizing these folks. Thanks for being here today. Each semester, 3 Fort Hays State University faculty are selected to receive the awards for outstanding teaching, outstanding scholarly activity, and outstanding service. Today, we will recognize the Fall 2025 recipients. With the generosity and support of Commerce Bank, these 3 individuals are provided with an award of $500 in recognition of their efforts. The academic deans provide an additional $250 for the budget of the recipient's department. And so at this time, I'd ask Mr. Shane Smith, President of Commerce Bank, to join us here on stage to help present the awards. Thank you, Shane, for your sponsorship and for being here today. And like the previous awards, when the faculty recipient is announced, please do come forward. The first is the Outstanding Teaching Award, and this award goes to Dr. David Schmidt, Assistant Professor of Informatics. Dave, come on forward. Dave has built a strong reputation as a reliable and student-centered instructor. His work in INF 101 has helped thousands of students develop essential digital skills that support academic success for their future careers. Dave has used his skills as a leader in developing and reviewing the general education curriculum to meet the changes required by the Kansas Board of Regents. He continually dedicates time and attention to course assessment and revision to ensure our students are receiving the current and improved information in the classroom. Dave's consistent teaching reflects commitment to education here at Fort Hays State University. Congratulations, Dave. The second award is for outstanding scholarly activity, and the recipient is Dr. Michael Grunstadel, Assistant Professor in the Department of Biological Sciences. Michael has rapidly distinguished himself as an outstanding scholar at Fort Hays State University, securing more than $315,000 in competitive funding, including a highly competitive NIH award. His research has produced peer-reviewed publications and international presentations while advancing impactful work in plant genomics and bioinformatics. Equally notable is his commitment to mentoring undergraduate and graduate students through funded interdisciplinary research experiences. Together, these achievements reflect scholarly excellence, educational impact, and a clear merit for this award. Congratulations, Michael. The Outstanding Service Award recipient is Ms. Jennifer Sauer, Librarian 3 in the Tebow Library. Jennifer exemplifies exceptional service through sustained high-impact leadership on critical institutional committees and initiatives that directly advance student success and academic excellence. Her contributions to senior leadership searches, faculty advancement processes, and the professionalization of student research awards have significantly strengthened university operations and elevated the visibility of undergraduate scholarship. Through her unwavering commitment to reliable access to library resources and her mentorship of many colleagues, including myself, Jennifer's service reflects a profound ethic of care and makes her richly deserving of this award. Congratulations, Jennifer. Congratulations again to all of our semester award winners, and thank you again to Shane Smith and Commerce Bank for your continued support of these awards. The Adjunct Faculty Recognition Program was developed to honor adjunct faculty who provide outstanding teaching and learning opportunities for our students. Each year, the university recognizes one exceptional adjunct faculty member from each of the 5 academic colleges with a $500 check and recognition at Convocation in January. If any of our Adjunct Faculty Award recipients are here today, I don't believe any of them are going to be here, but if any of you are here, please do come forward to receive your award. Let me tell you, though, about all 5 of them. Representing the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences is Ms. Lauren Bard Scheel from the Art and Design program in the School of Visual and Performing Arts. Lauren is an award-winning ceramicist and a dedicated adjunct whose teaching makes art approachable, meaningful, and engaging for students of all backgrounds. In her classes, she challenges students to think differently while providing clear structure, encouragement, and support. As the owner of Blush Ceramic Studio, Lauren brings real-world experience into the classroom and leaves a lasting impact, often inspiring students to continue their studies in art. Dr. Richard Keenan-Sudurth from the Department of Applied Business Studies in the Robbins College of Business and Entrepreneurship is our next awardee. Keenan has been an exceptional adjunct for the Business Education Teacher Licensure Program, consistently demonstrating a high level of professionalism, precision, and a deeply student-centered approach. His contributions to curriculum development have helped move the teacher licensure program forward in very meaningful ways. In addition, Keenan's service on the CAPE accreditation and various other committees in the College of Education reflects his dedication to continuous improvement and accountability. He has made a lasting impact on the program, and he is most deserving of this recognition. Our next award recipient is Dr. Kelly Arnberger from the Department of Advanced Education Programs in the College of Education. Kelly is an outstanding adjunct instructor who is highly responsive and deeply engaged with students, providing prompt clarification, timely grading, and meaningful feedback. Students consistently value the thoughtful back-and-forth dialogue Kelly fosters through Google Classroom and the thoughtful, insightful commentary on current, relevant topics in higher education. Kelly's approachability and commitment to student success make them a truly great instructor. Congratulations, Kelly. Representing the College of Health and Behavioral Sciences is Dr. Jeff Burnett, who teaches in the Department of Health and Human Performance. Jeff has worked for the university on and off since 2001. Since 2019, he's been teaching both undergraduate and graduate coursework for the HHP department as an adjunct. Dr. B, as students call him, has always been student-centered and valued student success. In addition to helping students, Dr. Burnett is always willing to help the department teach extra course sections if needed. As always, he strives for excellence and continues to be a dedicated professional. And finally, our last award recipient from the Department of Mathematics in the Worth College of Science, Technology, and Mathematics is Ms. Brianna Kerr. And it is Brianna, excuse me. Brianna has been a successful online Calc 1 instructor since fall of 2020. In addition to teaching Calc 1 in the fall and spring semesters, Brianna has been willing to take on the challenges of teaching Calc 1 and elements of statistics for the EPI program in the summer. She communicates well with her students and the math faculty at Fort Hays State and makes changes to her courses as needed or recommended by the department. Let's say a special thank you with a round of applause to all of our adjuncts for their commitment to our students. It's now time to celebrate excellence in the assessment of student learning through 2 special awards. These awards recognize the outstanding efforts of programs in advancing the university's commitment to continuous improvement and meaningful student learning outcomes. This year's awards are based on the annual program assessment reports submitted by programs last November for the 2025 academic year. The university's Learning Assessment Committee carefully reviewed and rated the reports based on the key criteria outlined in their review rubric. We're going to begin today with the Advancing Assessment Award, and that award recognizes a program that has made significant strides in enhancing their assessment of student learning activities and will receive $1,000 deposited in their academic operating budget. It is my pleasure to announce that the Master of Science in Health and Human Performance program will receive this award this year. This program is housed within the Department of Health and Human Performance. So will Dr. Steve Sedbrook, along with any faculty and staff from the department and program, please come forward to accept this award. Over 3 assessment cycles, the MS program established a comprehensive assessment process that includes all foundational elements: defined program learning outcomes, a curriculum map, assessment measures, and proficiency standards. Over the past 2 cycles, the program executed their plan by measuring multiple program learning outcomes which faculty reviewed and discussed for potential improvements. These advancements demonstrate the dedication and collaboration of the HHP MS faculty team and their commitment to ensuring meaningful student learning outcomes. Congratulations to you and the entire team. The second award is the Closing the Loop Assessment Award, generously sponsored by Voya Financial. This award is given to the academic program that has successfully enhanced student learning through thoughtful analysis of assessment results and implementation of targeted improvements with clear evidence of measurable gains. The award includes a $2,000 contribution to the department's operating budget. This year, the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science programs in the Department of Chemistry are the recipients of the Closing the Loop Award. Will Dr. Masa Watanabe, Interim Chair of the Department of Chemistry, along with department faculty and staff who are still here, please come forward to accept this award. This process, measuring learning, identifying gaps, implementing changes, and demonstrating results, is the gold standard for leveraging assessment to achieve excellence. As the University Director of Assessment noted in his review, quote, "The report and work executed by the faculty should serve as an excellent example of a quality assessment process focused on improving student learning. Additionally, the program recognizes that assessment is continuous and has raised their benchmarks for multiple program learning outcomes to drive continued improvement." Congratulations. Thank you to Voya Financial for your continued sponsorship of this award as well. Before I close, I want us to congratulate our 3 faculty who were recognized for their teaching excellence at the September 2025 Kansas Board of Regents meeting. So if you are still in attendance, will Lexi Bartlett, Department of English and Modern Languages, Jennifer Pichard, Department of Health and Human Performance, and Linda Mayer, Department of Advanced Education Programs, just please stand if you're in attendance. They were recognized. I should have led with that. They were recognized by the Regents at their September meeting, and it was important that we recognize the faculty again today at Convocation. So congratulations to the 3 of you, and thank you for being here today. And I would also like to ask if these staff members are in attendance to please stand and be recognized. These are the staff members of the month who were recognized in the fall semester. John Aschenbrenner, Custodial Manager, Building Services. Mandy Kern in October, Program Specialist with the Kansas Wetlands Education Center. Jennifer Thornton in November, Enrollment Management Assistant in the Office of the Registrar. Debbie Staub in December, an academic advisor in the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, Joey. So at this time, before I close, thank you to everyone in the President's Office, the Provost's Office, the Human Resource Department, and many other units across the university for making Convocation a success. Thank you also to Phil for traveling to Hayes and spending time with us and sharing a really important message for us as we engage and work with multiple generations of learners. Would all the award winners, if you're still in attendance, please come to the stage at the conclusion of Convocation for one big group photo. We'll do that quickly before we disperse for the day. And in closing, I'm going to share with you a written message from our president. Dear colleagues, it saddens me that I cannot be among you today to celebrate the start of this new semester. While I'm in Topeka advocating for the resources our university needs to thrive, my thoughts are with the energy and dedication that fill this auditorium and join us via live stream. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to our outstanding faculty, staff, and student award recipients. Your excellence is the heartbeat of this institution. You represent the very best of what it means to be a Tiger. I also hope you enjoyed the insights from Phil Gwokey today. In a world that often highlights what divides us, learning to laugh and understand our generational differences is a vital part of building the ethic of care we strive for at Fort Hays every day. I want you to know these 3 things. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I am fighting for you. As we move into this semester, I ask that you continue the incredible work you do for our students on campus, online, and internationally. Please continue to treat one another with kindness, and remember that we are all in this together. When things become challenging, lean into our culture of grit and innovation. That is what defines this university. Most importantly, stay anchored in our mission, providing accessible, quality education to Kansas and the world. We are more than just a university. We are an innovative community of teachers, scholars, and professionals dedicated to developing the global citizen leaders of tomorrow. I am excited and proud that our mission-focused work, Strategic Plan Goal Theme 5, Impactful Partnerships, was recently validated by the American Council on Education and the Carnegie Foundation through the Community Engagement Elective Classification. This prestigious designation recognizes our deep commitment to partnership between our university and the communities that we serve. Fort Hays State University is now one of only 11 institutions in the world, and the only one in Kansas, to hold both this and the Leadership for Public Purpose elective classification. One of 11 in the world. Yes. While a small group of dedicated people led the charge to document our impact, this milestone belongs to the entire Tiger family. It is your daily work in our classrooms, in person and online, our offices, and the community that made this possible. I do want to offer a special thank you to Dr. Donette Noble for her leadership in spearheading this effort, and to everyone who contributed the data and stories that told our Fort Hays State University story so powerfully. Please leave here today knowing that you matter to me and to this university. I look forward to seeing the great things we will accomplish together this semester. Go Tigers, TISA. Have a great semester, everyone. Award winners, please come to the stage quickly for a photo.